Next, a BBC investigation now. TikTok is not removing any videos that deny the existence of human-made climate change. In April, TikTok said it would delete them. It said it was updating its misinformation policy to target any content that undermined well-established scientific consensus about global warming. Well, Jennie King, founder of the Climate Against Disinformation, a coalition of climate and anti-disinformation organisations. Thanks so much for coming on the programme.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
So what's the scale of the problem here? What's going on?
I think there are two different questions at play here. The first is whether social media platforms, including TikTok, are able to enforce their policies as communicated to their users and to the public. But the second question, and perhaps the more important one, is whether those policy approaches are actually the right ones in and of themselves. I think the BBC research that came out today shows that the first of those questions, the answer is patently no. You know, they made an announcement in April that they were going to take a content removal approach to climate denial, and that is not happening across the platform. But I feel that the second question is really underserved, which is, are these very crude and quite blunt instruments of content removal actually the right way to deal with a problem like climate mis and disinformation?
What's the alternative?
Well, platforms in general have tended to focus on content moderation writ large because it's something that they can announce to the public. It seems like they're being proactive, but in practice, they are both unworkable and largely unconstructive. And part of that is because you would need tens of thousands of moderators sitting all across the world, covering all languages, reviewing potentially tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of data points in any given day. What they're not willing to really confront head on are some of the architectural problems in these social media platforms that relate to their business model and the fact that in order to keep users engaged and browsing, they are recommending content that is incendiary, mis and disinformative, and in some of the worst cases, hateful or extremist.
Don't you have any sympathy with actually, you know, the scale of what's going on and free speech arguments and things like that, that actually it is a difficult balance to strike?
Absolutely. That's why we would say that the wording as it's currently phrased is the wrong approach, because if anything, it falls foul of that freedom of speech argument. In a liberal democracy, certain types of conversations that aren't criminal should be allowed to take place in the public domain. What shouldn't be allowed to happen is unbridled freedom of reach, which means people weaponizing social media in order to take up oxygen, or indeed being able to create a revenue stream and actually monetize and profiteer off spreading unsubstantiated claims, conspiracy theories, abuse, harassment, all of the other problems that we see taking place across social media. So by using this very strict content moderation or content removal approach, they are not tackling the root of the problem, which is the way that they curate and present information to users, and as a result, how those users are able to interact with key policy issues.
OK, Jennie King, thanks so much for coming on the programme. Thank you.
Thank you.
And TikTok was approached by the BBC for an interview, but they declined. Instead, they sent us this statement. It says it prohibits harmful climate change misinformation, and it has permanently removed the content and accounts that violated its policy. It's also said it's working with fact checkers and that people searching for content about climate change on TikTok are being shown a link to authoritative information.